Please rise for the presentation of the colors.
Color guard attention. Color guard, forward march. Color guard hold. Prepare to post the colors. Post the colors. Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Two. No.
Color guard, reform. Color guard, return to post. Color guard dismissed. Audience, you may be seated.
Everybody stand up for our Scout Up and Scout Law.
What? No, Steve said I don't know how to do that. He said you're scout.
Please follow me in the Scout Oath. On my
Honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to love the people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, and to awake and morally straight.
Please follow me in Scout Law. A
Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent.
No, move for our invocation.
Let us pray. Lord God, we stand before you tonight in awe of your glory and gratitude for all your blessings. We thank you for bringing us together as a family of scouts gathered to celebrate the accomplishments of Jake Chatfield in attending the rank of Eagle Scout. We ask your blessings on him, his family, and the scouts, leaders, friends, and guests who are assembled here. We pray that you would bless this celebration as we rejoice with him. Use this ceremony, Lord, to inspire vision and to encourage others to follow the path to Eagle. We ask for this prayer in Jesus' name. Amen.
Y'all may be seated. I invite Charlie Groom up here to present Jake his Lost Merit Badges.
Long lost America.
Very good. First, I want to thank the Scouts for putting together this Court of Honor tonight. And the food, I'm excited to see how strong the troop is and how active you are. It really makes me feel good inside, doesn't it, Jake? Yes. Continuing on. Like you said, I was a Scoutmaster when Jake received his Eagle. And before I give this, I was going to reminisce a little bit. And I was thinking back on what it is about scouting that is the most important, now that we've been out 12 years. And I thought, well, all those 12 points starting from trustworthy all the way to reverent, that's important. And is that the most important thing to carry on with you through your life? The law, the oath, these merit badges, how to fix a plumbing leak. Now that's important. You don't know how somebody was just telling me about a leak that they had. So those are important, but you're going to think I'm crazy, but I'm going to tell you what I think the most important thing that you gain out of scouting through your years. And it takes me back a little bit to my senior patrol leader, which was my brother at Camp McKee, and we were tying knots. And there was a thing that looked like a Christmas tree, and the entire patrol was around it, and we were timed how quick we would each tie the knots. So you think I'm crazy, right? That that's the most important thing? Well, it's a little deeper than that. It's the kind of knots that you tie, and and maybe it's better described as weaving, that each of the scouts, the leaders, they're tied together. They weave all these 12 points of the law together with each other, and they're bound together. The family ties that extend into scouting, because we're just a big family. So I'm going to show a few of the knots that Jake has tied and present those to him. And maybe the senior patrol leader, Pat, was that you or Michael? I don't know who was the senior patrol leader when Zach was there at the end. It was probably you, Michael. Why don't you come up and present it to him? I'll say what they are and you hand it to him. Zach, would you come forward, please? Looks like the first one is procrastination. No. Was I mistaken?
I was gonna get to that one.
You're going to get that one? All right, camping merit badge. Would you present that to Jake?
Congratulations. Have my best anymore.
The next three are those required for Eagle. Physical fitness,
Doing a good job. I don't know, I think I'm sure that was good.
and personal management, and citizenship of the world.
Congratulations.
So, next, I'm gonna invite a member from each troop, or from each rank of Troop 180 to come up and talk about their rank. First is Danny, for Scout rank.
My name is Danny, and I'm tenderfoot rank. So, scout rank is one of those ranks that has a bunch of requirements, but you really get through them fast, and it feels like you're done. So, some of the easier ones were, like I said, citizenship is one of them. You also had to do some tie knots. Knots were easy. Some of the intermediate ones that weren't that hard to get through were pocket knife skills and first aid. And then some of the harder ones for me were building fires. Getting those fires to start were very hard. Now, scout rank, it's really fun getting to scout rank, because a lot of the stuff you have to do is with other scouts. And with those other scouts, you have fun doing it. That's all I have.
Next, will Josh Stone come up and present tenderfoot rank.
So, I'm Joshua, and I'm second class. I'm doing a speech for tenderfoot. And one requirement in tenderfoot that was a bit hard for me was participating in an hour of service in one of the service projects, because I had a pretty busy schedule and wasn't able to go to the projects. One of the projects I did is the MANA project, where we disposed of old food and packaged new food for children who need it.
close to in here. What I remember from second class is, well, there was like a whole bunch of stuff that we had to do, but there's just one thing that always stuck out to me that I love more than anything else. And that was working with Zach at first aid. And there was a bunch of stuff that we had to do. He'd be like, okay, what do you do if you have a piece of dirt in your eye? And me being the kind of person that I am, I'd be like, get some dirt and throw it in the other. I said, we can't be complaining about that one. I'm complaining about both. Even though I knew that wasn't the right answer, I'd still make that joke. And Zach would be like, didn't you know this stuff? I know, you're just joking, but you better stop. And then it got on to us learning how to do stuff that was more serious, like what do you do if you have a broken bone or a sprained ankle? And then it got on, after we were out of the first aid portion of the rank, we would move on to making fires and going and learning to getting swimming merit badges. And Zach being, certified swimmer, something like that, whatever. I don't know exactly what kind of certifications he's got, because he's just got them from account. He taught us, and it was pretty easy the way he taught us. So, I actually enjoyed earning the tenderfoot rank, or not tenderfoot rank, second class rank, I'm sorry. And knowing that I'm almost out of scouts, because I'm a star, I only got 2 ranks left. Just thinking about the good days of when I was still very new to this troop, it was real fun. I miss those days. But then again, I don't. That's all I got.
Thank you. So will Hunter come present first class?
When a scout becomes first class, he can then go on high adventure trips such as Philmont and the Saga River canoe trip. And most scouts don't get past first class because they can go on high adventure trips like that. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Noah Stone, will you come please present the star?
Alright, so when you get up trying to earn star rank, you have to show a little bit more maturity and leadership skills and initiative than the other previous ranks where you're just trying to knock out those requirements. So the requirements of Star Scout, you have to be active in your troop for 4 months as a first class scout. You must demonstrate scout spirit by living the scout oath long. You must earn 6 merit badges, including 4 from the list of required equal merit badges and 2 elective. You should participate in 6 hours of community service, serve actively in your troop in an approved leadership position for 4 months, and earn the cyberchip award for your grade.
So, I'm Ryan Ward, I'm doing life rank. One really good thing that I achieved while I was life rank was our prep hikes. We were planning on going to Philmont. They're pretty hard. They're long and painful, but reaching that was a lot of fun, even though we didn't get to go to Philmont. One of the requirements for life is earning some different merit badges to get up there, and earning more to get to Eagle. But one of my favorite merit badges that I did earn while I was at summer camp was the sailboating merit badge. We were out on the lake for the week and did a whole lot of different stuff. Even in free boat, we sailed across the lake. But one of the things that we just kept doing over and over because it was so much fun, even though it was really hard, was we capsized our sailboat out in the middle of the lake. There was one time when we kind of broke the boom pole and couldn't get it back up. So we kind of had to swim back into shore with our sailboat broke. So that's what I have for life rank. James Ward, will you please come up to present Eagle rank?
As Ryan said, I'm James Ward, and I got the rank of Eagle right a year ago. And some similar things that he did as Life Scout. As a Eagle Scout, you take on a lot more responsibility. You're more like an adult, and you have to pull everybody's weight. you look out for everybody else and you take care of yourself very last. Some of the prep hikes we went on, I remember we had to, me and Austin, both are Eagle Scout, we had to get the fire going for the people because they were moving a little bit slower and we needed one quick. And that was our first prep hike we went on, and it was freezing. 6 inches of snow. So some other things, responsibilities we have to do is we pretty much take over the leader's role. The senior patrol leader still does their job, but we stand back as a ASM or ASM Junior Assistant Scoutmaster, and we just look over everybody and make sure nobody's going to get hurt or anything's going to happen to them. So, thank you.
So will Chris Lang please come up to, with his speech of what it takes to be an Eagle Scout? Or no, Chris Ward, will he come up with the history of Scouting? Sorry.
So Steve asked me tonight if I would talk a little bit about history of Scouting. And I thought about it for a while, and I was going to not talk about Baden-Powell. I was going to talk about something different. And I'm still going to talk about something different, but I can't leave out Baden-Powell. And anybody that's been a scout should know by now who Baden-Powell was. And let me read just a little bit about Baden-Powell. On the 22nd of February, 1857, Baden-Powell was born. He lived all the way up through the 8th of January, 1941. He was a British Army officer, writer, and the founder of the first Chief Scout of the Boy Scouts. An interesting note, his sister founded the Girl Guides in England. It's a very interesting little note about that. Baden-Powell authored the first editions of the seminal work, Scouting for Boys, which was an inspiration for the Scouting movement. After having been educated at the Charterhouse School in Surrey, England, Baden-Powell served in the British Army from 1876 to 1910 in India and Africa. In 1899, during the Second Boer War in South Africa, Baden-Powell successfully defended the town in the Siege of Mafeking. Several of his military books written for military reconnaissance and scout training, and we're not talking about Boy Scouts here, we're talking about military scouts, were written based on things he had learned in Africa during these years. So in 1907, he held a demonstration camp. This is kind of where Boy Scouts started. They went to Brownsea Island, and they called it the Brownsea Island Scout Camp. It was an experimental camp that had never been done before. He had 15 boys. They were there from the 29th of July through the 9th of August in 1907. Now, you gotta remember, scouting in the United States didn't start until 1910, so we're several years prior to the scouting movement ever getting started or officially started in the United States. He invited boys to this island, and he called it the Game of Scouting, based on ideas that the South African War Commander had developed for using local boys as military scouts during the Siege of Mafeking. Now these were, what he found was that his soldiers that had been trained by the British Army were not trained to a level that he needed them to be able to operate at. And it's funny, you know, we say our kids aren't like kids from 20 or 30 years ago, and here's a man in the early 1900s fighting in South Africa, and he's making the same statements about his young soldiers. You know, they're just not hard. They just didn't learn what they need to learn. They're not like they're not like us, right? They didn't learn what we learned when we were their age. Kind of funny how things really haven't changed. So he got scouting started in England, and the first Boy Scout troop in England was somewhere around 1908. It says that the troop was originally founded on September 1907 by Captain Robert Young as an association of the Glasgow schools, not Glasgow, Kentucky, Glasgow, England. Soon afterward, Baden-Powell visited Young and persuaded him to introduce the scouting methods previously tried out at Brownsea Camp. The cadets, having accepted this idea, the association was renamed the 1st Glasgow Scout Troop and formed into 4 patrols, each of which represented one of the 4 schools from which membership of the troop was drawn. Now, in about the same time, and I don't know if you all are familiar with this, but if you drive down toward Somerset, you go through Somerset, there is a big billboard down there, and it's in Burnside. And the claim is that is the very first Boy Scout troop that was ever in the United States, right there in Burnside, Kentucky. A lot of people don't realize that. But here's the thing. It wasn't a Boy Scout troop of Boy Scouts of America, but it was a Boy Scout troop. It says, in South Central Kentucky, it is believed to be the home of the first Boy Scout troop in the United States. In 1908, 2 years before the Boy Scouts of America was officially organized, there was a lady. This is what I found very, very different. This is not what I expected. But her name was Miss Myra Greeno Bass. She organized a local troop of 15 boys, and she was using Baden-Powell's book that he wrote, Scouting for Boys. That was what she was using as her manual to run this troop. And she had acquired, and she'd been to England, and she acquired this book while she was over there. And they would go camping, they would go hiking, and then it even went on to say that in the wintertime, they would meet at her house, and she would read Treasure Island and other novels to the boys in the wintertime, which I thought was very interesting. And then and that was what I went after. That was what I was curious about, because we've all stood down there at that sign on some of our prep hikes that we've done and had our picture taken, and I thought, it's kind of odd. You don't think of Kentucky necessarily being, the very first Boy Scout troop, but it was the first on record Boy Scout troop. There were several other troops that were organized in the area around after that, right after 1910, and what I found also interesting is they organized Troop 1 out of the Presbyterian Church in Danville, Kentucky, and that troop was organized on December of 1911, and it's still in existence today, but it's no longer Troop 1, it's Troop 326 and Troop 27. They've split, but it still dates back to original, back all the way to 1911. So Baden-Powell was very influential. There were other people that Baden-Powell met along the way. One of those was Ernest Thomas Seton. He was very instrumental in putting Indian lore in the Boy Scouts. It says that Seton met scouting founder Lord Baden-Powell in 1906. Baden-Powell had read Seton's book, The Birchbark Roll of Woodcraft greatly intrigued by it. The pair met and shared ideas. Baden-Powell went on to found the scouting movement worldwide, and Seton became the president of the committee that founded the Boy Scouts of America, and was its first and only Chief Scout. The position of Chief Scout was removed, and the position Chief Scout Executive was taken by James West, who is another name that everybody should be familiar with when it comes to Boy Scouts. Seton had a group of boys. They weren't Boy Scouts, they were called Woodcraft Indians, and it was a youth organization. Over time, he rolled that group into Boy Scouts, and they became Boy Scouts. Another person, one side note, for those that have been to Philmont, there is a museum there, and it is Ernest Thomas Seton's museum there on Philmont property. And all the boys, when we went in 2016, we went through that museum, and it was all of his works and his collections, and it's housed out there now at Philmont. Let's see, I want to read you one more thing here. So, before Baden-Powell died, in his final letter to Scouts, I want to read his final letter that he wrote. It was short. It says, I have had a most happy life, and I want each of you to have a happy life too. I believe that God put us in this jolly world to be happy and enjoy life. Happiness does not come from being rich, nor merely being successful in your career, nor by self-indulgence. One step toward happiness is to make yourself healthy and strong while you are at work, so that you can be useful and so you can enjoy life when you are a man. Nature study will show you how full of beauty and wonderful things God has made the world for you to enjoy. Be content with what you have got and make the best of it. Look on the bright side of things instead of the gloomy one. But the real way to get happiness is by giving out happiness to other people. Try and leave this world a little better than you found it. And when your turn comes to die, you can die happy and feeling that at any rate you have not wasted your time, but have done your best. Be prepared in this way to live happy and to die happy. Stick to your Scout promise always, even after you have ceased to be a boy. And God help you to do it. And God will help you